to another episode of Hot Takes and Pancakes. We're so excited you're here. Thanks for watching. And if you haven't already, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel and turn on the post notifications so you get notified every time we post. And we'll also have links to all of our social medias listed. So as we continue this podcast, we were trying to think of lighter topics, but we decided that we should just get straight into the hot topics. So today's topic is going to be abortion. We know that this is a really controversial topic and it's really sensitive for a lot of people. So we just want you to know that regardless of your opinion, we still love you. Even if you disagree with us, even if you think that we're wrong, that's totally fine. Think that we're wrong, let us know. Let us know your opinions, your beliefs. We're going to try and keep this peaceful and friendly because our opinions are similar, but we do have some different opinions even when it comes to abortion. And so just remember that we love you either way. Your opinion does not define you. It doesn't mean we love you any more or any less, regardless of what you believe.
Right. Yeah. And remember in the first episode where we mentioned that the whole reason for this podcast was to share opinions or different perspectives without having to make enemies of each other, right? And we also mentioned in the first episode that we can talk about anything under the sun, whether it be dating, whether it be abortion, or I don't know, gun control, or the war in Palestine. So we feel like we should start getting into the more heavier, or more controversial topics.
It's about to get tasty.
Yeah, it's gonna get hot in here.
Like,
are the windows open or what?
And always don't forget or don't hesitate to let us know what you guys think in the comments, because that totally helps us widen our perspectives as well.
Right.
Facts.
And if you have any ideas for future topics that you want us to discuss or talk about, please let us know as well.
In fact, after this episode, we will send out another Google form where you guys are gonna give your ideas as far as topics that you'd want us to discuss in this platform. So we'll just be on the lookout for that.
So with that, I'm going to go ahead and just start us off with the dictionary definition of abortion. And it says, abortion, the deliberate termination of a human pregnancy, most often performed during the first 28 weeks of pregnancy.
Right. And just because it's performed, the dictionary says only if it's performed within the 28 weeks of pregnancy, doesn't mean anything after that is not abortion. You can be 39 weeks or 38 weeks and still terminate your pregnancy, and that would be considered abortion too. So going into it, so my beliefs, as far as, well, for me, I would say that my moral compass is guided or is from the teachings of the gospel of Jesus Christ, right? And we know that it is doctrine, and it's part of what we believe in, and that says, "Thou shalt not kill." Right, and I think that if you are ending a life or preventing a life for that matter, that is killing. So yeah, what do you guys think about that?
I think for me, we were talking about this a little bit, and all of us, and just in preparation for this podcast and this episode, I feel like the problem is not necessarily abortion itself. I think the problem, and I've always said this, the problem is educating ourselves enough about protective sex, or like a healthy sex life, so that your decision to have unprotected sex is like, you have to bear the consequences of having unprotected sex. So if you know you don't want to get an abortion, or you know you don't want to fall pregnant, use a condom.
So what you're saying is that it shouldn't even get to the point where you're choosing between abortion
or not. Yes.
I agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
So
agree.
the decision should be made
way
before you decide to engage in any sexual activities.
And that's both for the men and the women, because I feel like a lot of this has fallen because the woman is the one carrying the child. The man is always like, oh, abort it. You know, usually if they're not in a deep relationship or deep committed relationship, it's like, oh, you can just go and have an abortion. When the woman has that deep emotional connection. So I think it should be both of you should decide, you know, when you having sex, you know,
Fornicating.
fornicating or not, or you married or whatever. I don't know. Just be conscious that I'm having unprotected sex. I might fall pregnant.
Yeah, as a result, yes, you could fall pregnant.
Well, and I totally agree with your point of I think a lot of women are pressured into getting abortions, whether that be from their partner, whether that be from their parents. And did you know that 60% of women actually regret getting an abortion?
Wow.
So that's more than half of the women that get one regret it. And also, sorry, let me find this really quick. 58% of abortions are people who've never had one before.
So they might not even know what they're getting themselves into.
Exactly.
Right? And Andy, you wanted to say something?
Oh yes. So I just wanted to say something going along with what you said and how I agree with you that my moral and my standards align with the doctrine of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The church and the gospel believes in the sanctity of human life. And if you guys obviously want to know more about it or read more about it, you can go to the churchofjesuschrist.org to learn more about it. But it says, therefore, the church opposes elective abortion for personal or social convenience and counsels its members not to submit to, perform, encourage, pay for, arrange for such abortion. The church allows for possible exceptions for its members when pregnancy results from rape or incest. A competent physician determines that the life or health of the mother is in serious jeopardy, or a competent physician determines that the fetus has severe defects that will not allow the baby to survive beyond birth.
And yeah, I completely agree with that. I'm on the same page as you. But don't we also believe in agency in the church? That's one of our core principles and doctrines. So is that contradictory? Like, if we're against abortion and yet we believe in agency, that one can do whatever it is that they wish, in essence that's what agency means, the ability to choose between right and wrong, or between what you think is right or wrong, then shouldn't abortion be an option though?
Well, yeah, that's a good point that you bring up, Dale. Choosing to, well, there are laws in place, right? I know if anyone has seen the John Wick movies, I really love those movies. You guys should go watch that. It's on Peacock. So I really like the saying in the John Wick movies that says, if we are without law, we are like the animals, right? There are laws given to us, like for example, the 10 Commandments, or every country, if you kill someone, it's you suffer the consequences, right? You can choose to kill someone. No one is taking away your choice to kill someone or to abort, but you should just suffer the consequences of breaking such laws. So what I feel like is,
so that abortion in and of itself is wrong.
Right? Yeah. That's if you look at the law, or in the gospel sense, you have what we call moral laws. Or for example, in the Old Testament, it speaks about the law of Moses, right? Those are more with ritual stuff. But if you look at moral laws, killing is bad, right? It's just inherently bad, right? So even though you should not do that, it is a law, but people can still choose. People kill people every day, so it's not taking away your choice to choose. So I feel like, for example, for abortion, if someone, if they make abortion legal, people can still choose to abort, but they should just suffer the consequences because now it's illegal. You know what I mean?
So, and with places where abortion is legal, then what would the consequence be of someone going through an abortion? Is it more of an ethical, like you mentioned, is it more of an ethical consequence that a lot of people that actually go through abortion regret it? Like you said, 60%, right? And so do you think that's the consequence? Because if it's legal, there are no legal consequences that, that will happen or will take place if you choose to abort a child.
Yeah, I totally think it's, oh my goodness, it's definitely more of a moral compass.
Moral standards.
Simply because people have different standards, people have different morals. Whereas for me, my moral and standards stand within the gospel, and I think I wouldn't abort. But that doesn't mean that the other person has that same moral standing and the same moral values as me. So to me, I believe as soon as there's conception that it's a human life. So if I were to abort, that would be killing it. But the next person might not believe that it is a human life. So that ethical standing or that moral standing is different.
Right, that's a good point. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's a good point, Andy. But I also think, just from what you've just said, let's look at it in this way, right? Let's say you went and killed a 95-year-old man. Would that be any worse or any better than killing a 2-year-old? No, it's the same, right? So, apart from ethical or ethical morals or whatever, I think killing someone or preventing someone to live is taking away the right to live. Right?
So,
You know what I mean?
then what you're
So-
saying is that it doesn't matter how far along the pregnancy you are. It's abortion. It's murder. It's
Yes.
taking away a life, and it's not only taking away a life. It's taking away an opportunity at life.
Right.
And it's interesting you mentioned that because according to a study here, oh, by the way, we'll have all the links for our sources in the description, just so you guys can take a look at it if you wish to do
So
so.
you know that we're not making up stuff.
Yeah, it's not off the dome. We're not freestyling. But there's research that says in 2020, 6% of reported abortions took place in weeks 14 to 20 of pregnancy, and 1% occurred in week 21 or later. So,
Wow.
what is Alessandro? When is? I guess my question is, when is it legally, or when is it that a baby, this conception happens? Like when is that? Is it as soon as the sperm and the egg meet, or when is conception considered as conception?
Yeah, so conception is when the sperm and the egg meet. And when that happens, a lot of people will call it a ball of cells. But the baby has its own unique DNA at that point, the second the sperm joins the egg. And so at that moment, I believe that that's a unique life. That is a baby, that is a life from that single moment.
So from that moment, if you choose to abort, it's abortion. It's
Yes.
Okay.
And I actually, about your late-term abortions being rare, I actually found this post from liveaction.org, and they showed this study that, so in the CDC, 0.9% of abortions were committed after 21 weeks, which I think is what you just said. And the same 5.8 were committed between weeks 14 and 20. But so if you look, so I don't know if you guys knew this, but in the year 2020, according to the CDC, there were 620,327 abortions.
That's in the U.S., right?
That's just in the United States.
Wait, say that again.
620,327.
That's a lot of abortions.
And really quick, before I continue into my other point, I just want to also note that the number of murders in the United States in 2020 was 21,570.
And that's just murders. Like
That's just
normal
murders. So you look at the difference between that, that we're over 500,000 abortions, and to me that is still murder.
What that tells me is that people are a lot more okay with committing abortion than a murder.
Yeah.
Or I guess
I think
it's
it's just
easier
because people don't associate abortion with murder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or even because I feel like the law of the land hasn't given us the same consequences of abortion and murder.
But so with that, so that means that 5,582 abortions were committed after 21 weeks in 2020 alone. And I don't know if you know, but I believe it's after 23 weeks a baby's viable. That means it can survive outside of the womb. And that is just crazy to me that there's over 5,000 babies that died when they could have had a viable life outside of the womb. That if the mother, chose to just go to full term. And that also means that 35,978 babies were aborted between 14 to 20 weeks. And I don't know if a lot of you guys know this, but I'm actually pregnant right now, and I'm 13 weeks, and my baby's the size of a lemon. And
Yeah, that's like-
that's pretty big. And so just thinking about, that can't come out of me just without any, I would have to be dilated for something like that to come out. So the fact that a lot of women will choose to abort between 14 to 20 weeks, like, your baby's not small. And even when it is small, it's still recognizable that it's a baby.
Right. So do you think it'll be better if, let's say, you let the baby grow, or the fetus or the baby grow into full term, deliver the baby, and if you don't want to keep the baby, put it up for adoption, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and that baby can still have a life. For all we know, that baby could be the next prophet, right? You know what I mean?
Oh, praise
Did you know
And
that?
even if they weren't the next prophet, they
Yeah,
are still a human
they're still
being, and
living,
they
right.
still
Living.
deserve those
The
rights.
right to live.
Did you know, really quick? I'm pretty sure Ronaldo's mom almost chose to have an abortion.
Oh,
Can you
really?
imagine if she chose that?
Oh,
we
wow.
wouldn't have one of the best soccer players out there.
Well, that's
Okay,
But because-
wait. How
but
does
because
she know
his-
that? If we,
I saw it on Instagram. But because his mother chose life, we have an incredible soccer player that has blessed the whole world because people love to watch
yeah,
Ronaldo
and he donates
play.
to charity. So it's that life that the mom chose to keep is helping other people.
okay, I hear you, but Messi is still the GOAT.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
agree. I agree with that.
Comment down below if you're a huge soccer fan, Messi or Ronaldo. Don't say Ronaldo. But yeah,
You can say
I have
Ronaldo
a
if you
question though.
want.
So
It's getting hot in
When-
here. Gotta take this off.
when then are we allowed to, or when then can we sympathize or empathize with those that choose to go the abortion route, or do they not deserve any sympathy or empathy at all?
I think they completely deserve sympathy. I think everyone deserves sympathy. Even if I don't agree with your choices, I'm still going to love you and sympathize with you and recognize that, pregnancy is hard. It's not easy. You throw up all the time. Not all
Yeah.
women, but like
Trust me, I know.
it's hard. And so I would have a lot of sympathy, and I would sympathize. I wouldn't agree with their decision, but I would still have empathy and sympathy for them.
So let me
I
use the
agree.
same example then Kevin used the same case. If I were to murder someone that's, let's say, age 55, and I chose to as well go for an abortion, would you sympathize with me in the same way though? Would you show sympathy to me for murdering a 55-year-old?
Well,
The same way as you,
I think that's really, really
I
hard. Yeah, go ahead,
because
Lawrence.
you consider both of that murder though, right?
Yeah, but I think one of the reasons why I will sympathize with a woman who's aborted her child will be if I hear her backstory, because like our listener say, it's a lot, and I think it depends on the situations too. I feel like a lot of women feel like they don't have support to raise a baby, they don't have the financial means to raise a baby, they don't want to be single parents most of the time, and also they lack health insurance or proper medical care, and so like the only option they feel like it's abortion, and I think with each situation is different, and I feel like I'll give more sympathy and empathy if I hear the backstory and how she's struggling and her struggles, and I think that will help me feel sympathy for her. But for a murderer, if you're just killing a 55-year-old man and you have like, no.
Yeah, I think you won't have sympathy for, let's say, Jeffrey Dahmer or one of the biggest serial killers out there, because at that point it's, let's say you kill someone on accident, right? Or you're killing someone because you were defending yourself. You won't have as much sympathy, or I guess you'll have more sympathy for that person than for a serial killer
Who
who's
just
killed
kills for fun.
For fun.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean?
And-
Obviously,
and-
killing is bad, but like Lawrence said, it's dependent on the situation.
And I don't know if we should do more research like women who just have abortion for fun. I don't think there's a lot of women who just have abortions for fun.
Yeah, the
There's
most common,
usually
it's
a
actually funny
backstory.
because, again, according to the study, it says that most women that have abortions, the common denominator as to why they have abortions is because they already have other kids, or they already
Really?
have, they don't want more children.
Then
Which is
don't
very
have
interesting.
unprotected
Then
sex.
just, contraceptives
And so,
are a
would you
thing.
sympathize with someone who aborted for that particular reason?
Well, I think it's the concept or the principle of hate the sin and not the sinner type. Obviously,
Yeah.
it's hard for, let's say if my child, my daughter is choosing to abort because of that reason, I'm not gonna totally, hate my daughter, but I'll be like, I don't like what you did, but I still love you. It's that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's kinda what I was saying,
When
too.
it comes to
And I also think it comes to this is getting heavier and heavier because I feel like if it's sexual assault or rape or incest and things like that.
Yeah, the church's policy, it states that there are exceptions, but even I think Andy read
Even
it,
in
even
those
yeah,
exceptions, you are still
it's not automatically
encouraged,
it's not automatic that
to
you have to
have a
abort, right? Like let's say
Oh.
you were raped or forced into pregnancy. A lot of women will be like, yeah, I didn't like being raped, but I'm still going to keep this child, and because I didn't want this baby, I'm gonna put them up for adoption.
Like it doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah, but I think
that-
if you
that's hard.
that is hard, but
That
I think
is so hard.
but I think, Lawrence,
and I
if-
think that's why we need to give grace. That's what I'm saying. Like with people in such situation, in such shoes. I mean, we cannot really experience what they experience,
Right.
but we need to learn to walk a mile. Atticus Finch, what book?
To Kill a
To
Mockingbird.
Kill a Mockingbird. Walk a mile in
Inside
that
I
person's
don't read
shoes,
books
and
like
then
that.
give them grace. Like in situations like that, if for example someone was raped or sexually assaulted or incest and all those things, like I feel like all of this thing is traumatizing me and things like that, and I think I'm gonna get an abortion. I'll give them grace and I'll be like, yeah, I totally
Lawrence,
understand and
don't get me wrong.
sympathize and
Don't get me
empathize
wrong.
with them.
I think if you were raped or sexually assaulted, or that if you were to carry the child any longer in your fetus, in your womb, in your uterus, I think those cases, I think abortion is right. I'm not gonna be like, oh, that's wrong. Why did you do that? But I think it's the deliberate doing it for convenience. Then,
Yes, yes.
Then
Yeah,
that's where
that's,
it
that's
gets.
what I said at the
Because
beginning.
wear a
When
condom.
you're doing it for social standing or convenience, that's when you're like, no.
So then, do you agree with the result of Roe v. Wade then? So
No, Roe v. Wade, that's a different topic in and of itself. Just a backstory, I don't know if everyone knows the whole history about Roe v. Wade. It was in 1973 where this woman, Roe v. Wade, her name is Jane Roe, but that's not really a name, that's just the alias they gave her, versus Wade, who was the prosecutor in Texas that time. So she was pregnant for a third child. And she went to the Supreme Court and she was like, you know what, I don't want this child, I want to abort. And then after many cases, the 7 out of the 9 justices in Texas ruled that, she could abort the child. But that was only 3 days. She gave birth really early, 3 days before that verdict. And then she gave birth to, I think her last name is Thornton now. But after that, before that in Texas, abortion was illegal, right? But then after that, many states followed suit and kind of like tried changing the abortion laws in different states. And then in June of 2022, there was another abortion case similar to this one, and then it was overruled. And then that's what created the big controversy in 2022. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yeah, we all spoke about it.
So yeah, I think with her, I don't really know the reason why she and a friend, I researched this. She and a friend were making jokes, and they were saying that they should tell the court that they were raped by a black man, so she should abort.
Which is wrong.
Yeah, that's wrong, but it didn't work. So
I just want to say really quick too, if you are a woman in early pregnancy who is alone, there are so many resources out there. Do not feel like you are alone, because a lot of people who are going to pressure you into abortion want you to feel alone, want you to feel like that's your only choice, but it's not. You can choose life. There are clinics all over that can help you, can help provide means or things that you need for the baby. So I just want those kind of people to know that you are not alone. And I think the abortion industry is a money-making industry as well. And I think that that's a big drive for the
costs quite
push
a bit to
for,
get an abortion.
yeah.
Especially if it's because, like we said, most people that go for abortions are people who already have kids, so they know exactly how much of a financial strain that puts on the person.
right, and there's a statistic here that shows that black women are the group of people that abort the most in the U.S. It's really 38% are black, 33% are white, Hispanic is 21%, and then other is 7%.
Yeah, I think culture and like racial background and like financial background, like all of that plays a big role in whether you get an abortion or not, or being pressured to get an abortion. Because I feel like in South Africa, which is really sad too, in South Africa we have a lot of single mothers, but they don't get abortions, just because of, I feel like, the cultural background.
Yeah. And
Or
like,
even in Congo too.
and like if someone's pregnant, like in the Congo or in South Africa, it's like, oh, we're getting blessed from the Lord, you know.
It's a happy thing. Even out of wedlock. or
Even out of wedlock,
yeah,
even if
it
it's
wasn't
shunned,
intended.
even
Yeah.
if it's shunned by society, they still will most likely have that baby and abortion. And if you do an abortion, you like it's something so secretive and something so
Yeah,
out of the
shaming,
norm that you
kinda
won't tell
taboo.
anyone. Yeah.
Yeah, and there was a statistics that shows in Congo, in 4 years, there were 400,000 abortions in 4 years, but then in the US,
In 1 year.
in 1 year, there were over 500,000. So you can just tell the difference in laws, I guess, but in also cultural backgrounds.
Also, I think it's interesting, Dale, that you mentioned that a lot of women that get abortions already have kids. Because according to the CDC website, it says in 2020, the majority of women who had abortions, 57% were in their 20s, and then 31% were in their 30s. And so I think it's interesting, you know, maybe people in their 20s already had kids, but just that a lot of the women getting abortions, it's probably, you know, they had unprotected sex and, you know, they were all alone in those kinds of situations.
Yeah, and we have a video of how the whole abortion process goes. It is a little disturbing. I think it was disturbing. You don't have to watch this, but I feel like it's informative for you, very informative that you watch this and see how the whole process actually goes. And here it is.
Well, sorry, really quick before we get to that, I think a lot of people don't recognize what an abortion process actually looks like, and it is really hard to watch, but I think it's really important that people are educated on what the process actually looks like.
My name is Dr. Beverly McMillan. I'm a board-certified obstetrician gynecologist with 45 years of experience, and I've completed around 500 abortions. Today, I'm going to explain a first trimester suction D&C abortion, also called vacuum aspiration abortion. This is typically used up to 14 weeks of pregnancy. When the woman goes to the facility for the abortion, she will lie on a table with her feet in stirrups, and she will be administered local anesthesia. The abortionist will place a speculum like this inside the vagina and open it, allowing the abortionist to see the cervix, the entrance to the uterus. The cervix is grasped with a long metal instrument to stabilize it. A series of metal rods called dilators, like these, which increase in thickness, are inserted into the cervix to dilate it, gaining access to the inside of the uterus where the fetus resides. The abortionist then inserts into the uterus a hollow plastic tube with a hole in it called a cannula and attaches it to suction. If the embryo is small enough, the cannula can be attached to a syringe, and manual suction alone will remove the embryo and placenta from the uterus. Otherwise, the cannula will be attached to a suction machine. The suction machine is turned on and the abortionist slowly rotates the cannula inside the uterus. The fetus is rapidly torn to pieces as it is pulled through the cannula and tubing into a large glass bottle, followed by the placenta. Sometimes smaller embryos are pulled through intact. Occasionally, the abortionist must remove the cannula and pull out body parts that have clogged the opening to complete the abortion. Once the abortionist thinks everything has been removed, she will sometimes use a long metal curette to scrape the lining of the uterus to make sure no parts are left behind. An incomplete abortion can cause infection or bleeding. Once the uterus is empty and the bleeding is under control and all the instruments are removed, the abortion is considered complete. But before the patient leaves, the tissue must be examined to make sure the placenta and all the body parts are accounted for. 2 arms, 2 legs, a spine, a skull. The risks of suction abortion include perforation or laceration of the uterus or cervix, potentially damaging intestine, bladder, and nearby blood vessels. Other risks include hemorrhage, infection, and in rare instances, even death. Future pregnancies are also at a greater risk for loss or premature delivery due to abortion-related trauma and injury to the cervix. As I said at the beginning, I used to do abortion. In fact, I helped to open the first abortion clinic in the state of Mississippi in 1975. At that time, I thought abortion was what women needed, and I was totally oblivious to the life of the child. But one day, I looked at the remains of a 12-week-old baby boy that I had just aborted, and I thought to myself, what is the difference between this little boy and my own 4-year-old son? I came to recognize that abortion doesn't just end a pregnancy, it kills an innocent human being. Now I am a pro-life advocate. I am proof that anyone can change, no matter who they are or what they have done. I invite you to join me and make a decision to protect the preborn.
And yeah, thank you so much for watching that video, and I'm sure you learned something new from that video. And just like the video mentioned, there's a lot of people that are for abortion and they call it safe abortion. Is this anything? Okay, maybe what I want to ask is there such thing as safe abortion?
I think all abortions are unsafe because any abortion you have has some serious risks. The video mentions some of them, like if they don't get all of the baby, it can cause serious infections or bleeding. It can cause a hole in the uterine wall. It can cause any pregnancy you have later to have serious complications. And so none of that to me sounds safe.
Well, yeah, there's a statistic that says that it is a lot safer for a woman to carry out the pregnancy to full term and deliver the baby than it is to abort. And
Even using
even using
or the contraceptives.
well, yeah, even using the techniques of safe abortions, right? And I feel like we should also mention, or Lawrence was saying earlier, that let's try to put ourselves in other people's shoes. Of, you know, people abort for different reasons, right? So what are those other reasons? I know we talked a little bit about rape or sexual assault. Do you guys want to talk more about that on that, or?
I just think that, and Alessandra mentioned this a little bit too, like, what are your intentions? Like, your intention in be to kill. Like, and I feel like we kind of spoke about it, oh, all abortion is killing too, but just trying to understand where that person is coming from and their backstory is very important to me, because I like to have different perspective, especially of the person who's going through it all, because I can never understand it, because I'll never be pregnant and I can never fully understand it. But I feel like that's what I was saying earlier on, I can give grace and sympathy and empathy to someone who's had struggles with different things. Maybe it was rape, maybe it was sexual assault, maybe it was incest, I don't know. But I think grace should be given to people like that too. And I think just because I've had the gospel my whole life and it has shaped my moral compass and my moral standards, at the very same time,
We should show love, right?
yeah, not just that. I just feel like even though abortion is wrong, if you choose to abort, because right now it's not illegal across all the states. I mean, some
Right.
of the
But in
states
Utah
have
it
just-
is.
In Utah it is. But like, if you're not in Utah and you choose to abort your baby, I won't hate you.
Right.
I won't, like, you're not less than me.
And
I just
and-
have different opinions.
And on that,
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, and on that, I don't think it's good to say like, oh, that person aborted, I hate them, or they're bad, right?
yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
what you mentioned earlier, hate the sin, not the sinner.
Right.
Because people will always make mistakes. Abortion can be one of them. And again, morally speaking, and religiously speaking, someone's mistake does not define them.
Yeah.
And so, if someone chooses to abort, and they realize that a lot of people regret it, right? They realize that
Yeah.
their mistake. Why not show them the love and empathy and sympathy that they deserve?
And also, I just feel like people have been taught different things growing up. Like,
Yeah.
what I believe will not be the same thing someone else believes. And according to humanrightswatch.org, some people, like, that have studied these type of, like, reports and stuff like that would believe that abortion is part of their reproductive rights. And it says here that reproductive rights are essential for women to enjoy their human rights. These rights are centered on women's ability to make the best choices for their lives, including the number of children they have, if any, and the spacing between their children's births. Reproductive rights include prenatal services, safe childbirth, access to contraception, and access to legal and safe abortion. So some people truly believe that. And who am I to say what you believe is wrong and what I
Right,
believe is
yeah.
right?
Well, and I agree with that, but I also think that I don't think abortion is a reproductive right. I think they're in totally different categories. I think your reproductive right is to choose whether or not you have unprotected sex. Because the moment that conception happens and that life is formed, that baby has a right to live. And so by you choosing abortion, you're taking away that baby's rights, and that's no longer your reproductive
exactly.
right.
Now, what I'm saying is, yes, you believe that. Yes, I believe that. But doesn't mean
Yeah.
everyone else believes
Yeah.
that. Does that
Yeah,
make
that-
sense?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
That's true.
It's
And also, don't feel like we're attacking you if what we're saying goes totally against to what you're saying. We're just kind of sharing our opinions and things like that too. And we just wanted to make that right. We don't want this to be like an attack to everyone who has an abortion or an attack on those who don't have abortion.
Yeah,
It's
and
just
please-
a safe topic for us to discuss.
And please, any comments or opinions you have, please mention that in the comments. We would really appreciate your perspective.
I
One
mean,
thing-
and that's why Plan B or abortion pills are made for, though, right? Because conception doesn't happen straight after sex. It usually takes, if correct me if I'm wrong, up to 5 days for it says here for the egg, the sperm and the egg to meet and start the what we know as pregnancy process. Is that not right?
Right.
I think
yeah.
it's usually like 3 to 5 days.
Because
Right, yeah.
contraception pills temporarily stop the ovary from releasing to the egg,
Right.
or from releasing an egg.
But I do want to say abortion pills are different than that. An abortion pill is after you already have had conception. So after there's already life, you take a pill that decomposes your baby. So
Okay,
an
the
abortion pill is
contraceptions
different.
then would prevent.
Yeah, contraceptions
Yeah.
are preventative measures.
Okay.
Like,
So that's
But
not wrong,
also,
right?
if the egg has already erupted, then a contraceptive wouldn't do anything. Does that make
yeah,
sense?
yes.
Right,
Yeah,
right. And
yeah,
so
yeah.
if the ovary has already released the egg, then the contraceptions can't do anything at that point.
Right.
I think-
the contraception just stops the ovary from releasing the egg.
Yeah.
And the sperm is able to.
I think what I want to say, like in all these things that we've spoken about, is that if in your state abortion is not illegal, it's legal. Just choose whatever you want to do. That's your own decision. It's not what I believe.
Right.
It's just what
Yeah,
you
that's what I've been saying.
you want to do. If it's illegal, like in Utah right now, abortion is illegal, then you'll bear the consequences of it. I feel like that's what it is.
Yeah.
And I also think that you have to bear the consequences of what you choose when you're having sex. If you decide you're having unprotected sex and you fall pregnant, you have to bear those consequences. And it as adults, you need to be able to be aware of what you're doing. You can't just say, I'm gonna have a protected sex and then choose to have an abortion, because I feel like that's irresponsible.
or ignorance, or
Yeah.
And
So according to your state laws, I feel like choose what you want to do and then
Yeah.
live with the consequences.
right. So let's say in I don't know. Okay, I will actually no.
You sure you got your ideas together?
So okay, abortion is legal in 29 out of the 50 states in the U.S. And for example, California, Oregon, Nevada, Colorado, Montana, Maryland, Maryland, and it's illegal in 17 states. So Utah, Arizona, Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, and then there's a functional ban. What does that mean?
I don't know what that means.
Functional ban?
Functional ban.
Could that mean where it's it's dependent on
The situation.
the situation,
maybe.
or like
I don't know.
maybe there are exceptions of rape, sexual assault,
If you know what that means, functional ban, let us know below.
But also
Yes, please.
Utah has exceptions for those
Okay.
instances as well, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that if you have like an ectopic pregnancy or if the mother's life is seriously at risk or in cases of rape or incest, I'm pretty sure that Utah has those exceptions, even though it's illegal to have an
Okay.
abortion.
Right, as Lawrence was saying and as Dylan was saying too, if you live in any of those states that illegal or abortion is legal, yeah, go ahead and abort, since in that state you're living, it's not
I mean, don't, but if that's what you choose, then
right. Yeah,
That's what I'm
and
saying.
there
It's
won't
your
not
choice.
illegal.
yeah,
It's
there-
your choice.
There won't be any repercussions or as far as the law goes. You're not gonna get penalized or you're not gonna suffer the consequences of it. But we also judge according to the light and knowledge that we have, right? So in some people's eyes, it's like Andy was saying, they don't think that abortion is bad, right? What do you think? Do you guys understand where I'm going
Yeah.
with this, right? Because let's say because we obviously were grown up with gospel beliefs, and that is what kind of makes the decisions for us in a way. But what about
Our
those people?
decisions are
based
on
on
those.
those-
And see,
yeah.
I actually think that regardless of if I was religious or not, I think my opinion on abortion would still be the same.
Yeah, and that's fine. And what
Yeah.
about those other people that, let's say atheists, for example, they have no, they don't believe in a supreme being, they don't believe like in these moral laws. For those people that abort, how should we judge them if they don't have the light or knowledge that we have?
Well, we've already said we're not gonna judge them.
Right, yeah, and how should we look at them? You know what I
Look
mean?
at them normally.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
why
with
should we
love.
judge
There
people?
is
Yeah.
no difference.
That's
I
just the point I was trying to
I
make.
just think
Respect.
that if you're willing to want people to respect your opinions and your perspective and where you're coming from, you should be able to have the grace to render to other people too.
Right.
So an interesting topic that I want to bring up is, so if an abortion is not killing a human life, then why is killing a pregnant woman a double homicide?
That's a good point.
This is a good point.
That to me, in and of itself, shows that an abortion is killing a
And
life.
But that's also
is
just
that
in 30
30 states.
It's in 30 plus states.
Yeah.
So it's not in all.
So you know it's all states, so
But
It's
that's
just-
more states than. So you said there was only 17 states where abortion is illegal. So the double homicide thing is in more states.
States.
yeah.
Than that.
Even it might also be in states that abortion is illegal. So
That's
or,
what-
or
yeah.
legal.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
And another interesting thing that before we wrap up here, a lot of people, they feel like if they abort early, it's not as bad as aborting way late where the child is fully grown. What do you think? What do you guys think about that?
We were talking about this earlier before we started our podcast.
Oh, yeah.
And Alessandro really explained like when the sperm and the egg meet and it creates a ball of cells and it creates a unique DNA and unique life, and she is in the opinion that that's when life starts. And for me, what I say is when you hear a heartbeat, that's when life starts.
Well, so I also want to mention with that, like, so you can see a heartbeat as early as 6 weeks, but you can't hear it until a little bit later. So I have a question for you then, Lawrence. So I found out I was pregnant at about 3 weeks. Does that mean that there was no life?
Well, to me, what I believe, I just think as long as there's no heartbeat, then there's no life.
So you're telling me
think
that at
that-
3 weeks I didn't have a live baby inside of me?
Well,
Yeah, but I feel
Well,
like
to what I
that is
believe,
different
yes.
because we have the gospel shaping our lives and our moral compasses. So I feel like within ourselves, I feel like that's different. But with other people, like,
Well, but I'm just saying because Lawrence said in his opinion that life begins when you can hear or see a heartbeat, and so that's why I'm saying, does he believe that when I was 3 weeks pregnant that there was no life?
but people have different definitions of what life means.
life is.
So
And
let's
whether
say-
it is a life or not.
I was just
Right.
asking Lawrence to clarify his opinion is all I was asking. So.
Right. So like for the concept of life, right? Some people might believe this. I don't know. I'm just speculating here. People would argue and be like, "Oh, the reason why I aborted is because like even though the fetus grew to 30 weeks or whatever, it didn't actually live. Right. So it didn't actually have a life. in the like the essence of the word life, to live, right? So in their minds they'll be like, oh yeah, I think killing a baby is still in my wound who hasn't lived yet is better than killing someone who's 95 who's lived their lives.
I also feel like, as much as we spoke about consequences, for people that adopt, how it's more an ethical
Abort
consequence.
or adopt?
Sorry, abort. Did I say adopt?
Exactly. Like, oh no.
Like
Very
how
different,
there's-
Dale.
very different. How there's like, ethical or moral consequences, as much as there is for people that choose to abort. I feel like asking this question to someone, a loved one, is almost the same thing, because if you were to ask me the same question you just asked Lawrence, I would say yes, I would consider it a life. But imagine a stranger who lives many miles away. Would you consider that a life as well? Because there's no emotional attachment
just because,
Right.
and with Alessandra it's different because she's a loved one, she's family, and even in 3 weeks, I would never want her to. In any sense, I would never want anyone to abort, whether it was 3 weeks or 6 weeks. I was just saying, to me, I consider whether there's a heartbeat or not.
And see, I think that even if a stranger were to come up to me and say, well, do you believe at 3 weeks that there was life? I would say, yes, I do believe
Yeah,
that.
and that's
Yeah,
I
that's
don't, I don't,
that's-
yeah, I don't
your
think there's any
beliefs, that's your
emotional
opinion, yeah.
attachment to that.
Right.
So, your emotional. So, what you're saying is your emotion can't affect what you feel abortion should or should not be. So emotions. So it's, what is it? Is it more logical? Is it more spiritual? What is it? What?
It's your
I
moral
think for
compass.
me it's
what is your
logic.
motive?
I think for me it's logical.
It's logical.
Ooh, I'd say a combination of all.
right. But we know that the gospel transcends logic.
And it
Right.
transcends
Yeah.
emotion, because it's things we can't comprehend, but we also can't comprehend to feel.
You're right.
Right?
Yeah, because we can also make a mistake of what we feel. We can't fully express 100% how we feel.
That's
I
why
think
a
you and I
lot.
were having a discussion about
That's
this.
why a lot we're told or we're encouraged to think with our hearts, because I feel like it's a combination of both.
Yeah, I
You
think
think
it's
logically, you feel with your heart,
Yeah.
but if you think with your heart, then you're considering both. You have to always look at it in both
My
ways.
duty is to my heart.
Well, anyways,
Hold on.
I think we should probably start wrapping
Yeah,
this up.
we should. It's been a long episode, but it's been a good one. I think
Yeah,
we've had a
it's
great
been
discussion.
Yeah, I
really
think so too.
good.
Guys, like we mentioned, if you have anything to share at all, just leave your comments down below. Oh, you can even DM us if you feel
Yeah.
like
Please
you
do.
want to be a little bit personal. Just message us individually and share your opinions with us. We'd love to hear it. And yeah, please share. And like Alessandra mentioned in the beginning, all the links to our socials should be in the description. Go give us a follow and share, invite, and yeah, let's have more of this.
We love everyone, regardless of what you choose to do.
And hopefully we've shown you at least a little bit that even if you disagree with someone, you can still love who they are and love them.
Right. And just to wrap up, I'd like to reiterate the fact that we will send out another Google form where we'll be asking you guys what you think we should talk about in the future episodes. But we have been thinking of different ideas too, but we'd also like to hear what you think.
And it's gonna be spicy.
Yeah, we
Yo, I'm so
I
excited
personally
for it,
want
though.
it to be spicy.
Like, bro.
I like conversations like these. It just opens up my perspective
Yeah,
in my
and
mind.
it just shows that literally the five of us here love each other very much, but we have different opinions, and we're not trying to fight each other. We're not trying to let our opinions be swallowed by someone else's opinion. So it can be done, and whether you know someone or not, you can give them the respect and the grace of listening.
Facts.
Right, and someone's political affiliations has nothing to do with, them being a bad person.
100%.
What makes someone a bad person is them doing bad,
Bad
things.
things.
Agreed.
Right, and that's one of the things that I live by, and yeah, let's carry on talking about these things, and I feel like the next topic should be even heavier.
You guys let us know what you think in the comments.
Anyways, thanks for
All right.
tuning in.
See you guys.
Thank you. Okay, wait. Before we say goodbye, if you guys have any questions or would like to know more, please do not hesitate to ask. I know, yes, we want to hear your opinions, but if you guys want to hear more of our opinions as well,
Yeah, that's a
please
good point.
do not hesitate to ask.
Oh yeah, and all the sources should be in the description as well.
Also, were these pancakes bussin'?
No, Basim.
I didn't even try it.
Touch yours.
I
Oh my
didn't
gosh. I've been
The
eating
conversation
them.
was just that good that they didn't touch their pancakes today.
Mine obviously was bussin'. I don't have one. So. Anyway.
All right, thanks guys. We'll catch you
Thanks
next
for
week.
watching.
See ya.